The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like calluses. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What's up? Welcome in to yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or for free on the iHeartRadio app, we appreciate it. We just think that you guys are here listening to the show. And again, maybe you're that person. We don't judge here. You're that guy that just wants to put a face to the voice, and you are watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for doing so. We just ask that you hit like, that you hit subscribe, that you comment your favorite color, that you tell me what you hate about me, because I'm not a big fan of knowing what you like about me. Listen, my mom will tell me what's great. Tell me what you hate. That's the only way that I can get better here. Anyways, huge show coming up for you guys today. We're going to talk a lot of different things. I have some more strong feelings on the 49ers because 49ers fanboys are just continuously in my mentions. I want to talk the James Harden thing that has transpired over the past 24, 48 hours. And again, I want to talk some Lakers. So we're going to talk some more basketball here on the show today. And we are also going to preview Cowboys and Eagles. And I think you know what side I'm on. But in case you don't know, I will be crystal clear. Now, with that being said, we're going to talk all those things, but I want to start right here. What's the most pressing thing today is the San Francisco 49ers. Another week, another show where I talk San Francisco 49er football and Brock Purdy. Now, let's go in chronological order here when it comes to talking about this team. I said in the beginning of the year that there's no way that the San Francisco 49ers are going to be as good as they were the previous year. I was one of those people that said, listen, guys, they're going to take a step back. That doesn't mean that they're going to miss the playoffs. But of course, 49ers fanboys talking. They were in my mentions for the first 5 weeks. Oh, 5-0, you should delete this. Everyone can have a podcast. Oh, look at me. I'm some 49er fanboy who doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. In my mentions all week for 5 weeks. It was just, oh, this is going to age poorly. It got 300,000 views, and it's still counting. Now, I didn't say the Niners were going to be awful. Just stupid. I didn't say the Niners weren't going to be a good team. Again, just stupid. What I did say is they're probably going to take a step back this year. And what do you know? Old Ben was right. And it doesn't matter how many times I'm right, you will still argue with me. We've seen it now, right? I said, listen, the San Francisco 49ers have a ton of good things around them. George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, you've heard the story on and on again. I'm not going to continuously talk about the weapons. But the one thing I harped on was, first off, this team needs to win this year. Because, and as a bunch of San Francisco 49ers fans don't do enough research here, they are due to pay a bunch of players in the coming years. People took that as, you're so dumb. You don't know what you're talking about, man. All those guys are already signed. Yes, well aware that all those guys are signed. I said due to pay, not that they need a new contract. So you're going to be due to pay Javon Hargrave, Christian McCaffrey, all these guys, Deebo Samuel, they are all on the payroll. And guess what? That can that you keep on kicking down the road is going to come due. That bill is going to come due. And that also took me to Brock Purdy. I didn't slander Brock Purdy. I never said Brock Purdy was bad. Brock Purdy is not a bad quarterback because he can't be. He is awesome for what he's asked to be. He was the last pick in the draft. He's had a slew of talent around him, and he's had Kyle Shanahan around him to help him direct where to go. Brock Purdy's just good. He's not awesome. He's just good. There's nothing wrong with being good. Brock Purdy is a good quarterback, but he can't carry you. There's no way, there has been no evidence to show that Brock Purdy can carry you. We saw in the Minnesota Vikings game, outdueled by Kirk Cousins. We saw against the Cleveland Browns. He lost that game. Make no mistake about it. Stop putting things on a third-round kicker. Blame the quarterback. And then we saw last week against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. They lost. 3-game losing streak. The 49ers are not as good as you think. Let me say that again. The 49ers are not as good as you think. The defense isn't as good as it was last year. Again, like I said, it's so funny to me how 49er fans think they can just plug and play any coach and they're going to be awesome. No, you got lucky. Robert Saleh was a good defensive coordinator and DeMeco Ryans was a good defensive coordinator. You lost both. Those guys are gone. And now you have Steve Wilks. And newsflash, Steve Wilks was fired. He's not very good at his job. He's not a very good defensive coordinator. The defense has taken a step back. And that's everything that I've been saying. I said, listen, the 49ers are still good, but they're going to take a step back. I don't think they're going to make the NFC Championship game. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks won the division. I picked the Seahawks to win the division. Oh, and through 8 weeks, have you checked? The Seahawks lead the division because the Seahawks have the better quarterback. The Seahawks relatively close to the same weapons. They're well coached, good defense, little bit of an easier schedule. The Seahawks right now, I think they'd beat the 49ers. People will say I'm crazy. Did you think the Browns and the Vikings were going to beat the 49ers? No, I don't think so. So through 8 weeks, I've been proved 100% correct. And San Francisco 49er fanboys are nowhere to be found. That brings me to my next point. The 49ers' problem is not their pass rush. Yes, it seems like Nick Bosa, maybe not as great as we thought, but they've allocated more than enough resources to the pass rush. Javon Hargrave is there. They've spent first-round picks on that defensive line. Nick Bosa is there. That defensive line is loaded with star-studded products on that line. So what do the San Francisco 49ers do? No, don't go get help with the defensive backs. Travarius Ward's fine. He's not amazing. The safeties are okay. Hufunga's good. They need secondary help. Those guys are getting torched. And what'd they do? They allocated resources to Chase Young. Chase Young, you Madden fanboys, you San Francisco 49er fanboys, casuals of the NFL, Chase Young's not that good. He's fine. Chase Young is fine. He's a productive pass rusher. But there's a reason why he went for a third-round pick, guys. The Commanders didn't just forget to call other teams. Use your brain. That's all they could get for Chase Young, a third-round pick. If he was that awesome, he's a young, premier pass rusher in your mind, right? Then he should have went for more than a third-round pick. It's the Isaiah Simmons thing. Just because Isaiah Simmons is a really good Madden player doesn't mean he's very good. The Cardinals didn't forget to call other teams. He went for a 7th-round pick for a reason, and Isaiah Simmons sucks. He hasn't been good. Chase Young, he's fine. Chase Young's fine. He's not a premier pass rusher, though. There's a reason why he went for a third-round pick. Chase Young is not solving your problems. Your pass rush is fine. Fix the secondary. Fix some of the other problems on the Niners. You have a coaching problem. The corners are not great. San Francisco 49ers are just not as good as you think they are. I said it at the beginning of the year. I've said it before. Brock Purdy, he's fine. Brock Purdy's fine. He can't carry you. Brock Purdy cannot carry you. And people in my mentions were saying, well, if you take Travis Kelce away from Patrick Mahomes, what is he? Did you miss the point? Brock Purdy has like 6 Pro Bowlers on his offense. Trent Williams, CMC, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk is an awesome number 2 receiver. George Kittle. What does Patrick Mahomes have? He's got Travis Kelce. And he won a Super Bowl with Travis Kelce and Juju Smith-Schuster, who everyone makes fun of. Brock Purdy, when you take away Deebo Samuel, maybe a George Kittle for a game, and he just has 1 or 2 Pro Bowlers, he's not that great. He's fine. He's mystery relevant for a reason. The San Francisco 49ers have problems. Chase Young is not going to solve that, and Brock Purdy is not as good as you San Francisco 49er fanboys thought, no matter what you try to say in my comments. You can say whatever you want. You can believe whatever you want. I've always been honest with my viewers. I've always been honest with my listeners. Brock Purdy, he's fine. He doesn't suck. He's not a bad quarterback. He's a good quarterback. There's nothing wrong with that. I can't come after Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy doesn't make a dime more than anyone else that watches this show. He doesn't make that much money. Brock Purdy does not suck up the salary cap. He's been awesome for what he's asked to be. He can't carry you. Chase Young is not going to save you. The 49ers have serious problems, and whether 49er fans want to acknowledge it or not is their problem. And the San Francisco 49ers right now will not make it back to the NFC Championship game like they did last year. Like I said, they would take a step back. And now 49ers fans, I hear crickets in my mentions because it's been 3 straight weeks and you haven't showed up for 3 straight weeks. You have serious problems. Chase Young is not going to fix it. Brock Purdy is just a fine quarterback. He is not going to carry you. And whether you want to acknowledge it or not, the San Francisco 49ers have real problems, and they are going to linger until someone points them out and they fix them. So another story that went viral over the past 24 to 48 hours is another NBA superstar that, is it not the own consequences to my own actions, aka James Harden? Let me just start off here. James Harden is a losing basketball player. He hasn't won anywhere he's went. He's a playoff disappointment, and he's a consistent prima donna who cares more about his image, who cares more about getting buckets in the regular season and getting to the foul line than winning titles. Listen, someone can tell you, yeah, man, I want to win titles. Yeah, man, I don't care about taking the most money. Yeah, man, I want to just go out there and be the best basketball player. Bullcrap. James Harden is a losing basketball player. James Harden doesn't care about anyone but himself. How many times does a player need to bounce around the league for people to say, he's washed, he's not very good, he's not prime James Harden, he's not MVP James Harden, he is what he is, a losing basketball player. So with that being said, the Los Angeles Clippers got worse when they added James Harden. Last year, had they had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they might have beat the Phoenix Suns, man. Kawhi Leonard alone was giving the Suns a run for their money. I mean, they were just giving them all they could handle in that series against the Clippers and the Suns. Kawhi Leonard was awesome. Then, of course, he got injured, and you know the story. Kawhi Leonard not able to perform, was not able to give a chance. The Suns won 4 straight, won the series in 5 games. What does James Harden add that the Clippers didn't already have? Now, I'm not going to continuously rag on the deal because they didn't give up much. Marcus Morris isn't very good. He's an old player with a temper tantrum problem. Robert Covington used to be a good 3-and-D guy, but now he doesn't really see the court as much. He did in that Suns series, but again, that was more so due to some injuries. The Clippers got worse when they added James Harden. First off, look at the roster. Look at the continuity. Russell Westbrook and James Harden, we've seen that story before. It doesn't work. James Harden is a dominant basketball player, has to have the ball in his hand. Russell Westbrook is. Kawhi Leonard, not so much. Very unselfish player. I'll be cool there. Paul George, another player. Needs the ball in his hands. He just gets buckets. What does James Harden add? Sure, he can lead the league in assists like he did last year. Awesome. The Clippers are trying to win a title. They don't have any first-round picks. They've given a ton of them away. They just have some, not a lot, to rebuild that roster over the next few years. You can't trade all your picks, part of the CBA agreement. They don't want you just getting rid of everyone, at least at the same time. You have to be able to swap out those picks. The Clippers basically have no draft capital. This team is in for a world of hurt over the next couple years. James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, all free agents at the end of this year. So it really is now or never. Now, if I wanted to go now or never, James Harden is the last person I pick for this team. He's a playoff disappointment. I just simply do not get it. James Harden, each and every year, continuously, every single year, doesn't show up in the postseason. And we're just supposed to be okay with that. Every year, his style of basketball does not translate through the postseason. What happened last year when they were up 3-2? What happened? Crapped the bed in Game 6, crapped the bed in Game 7. They were not good. They lost. The James Harden narrative continues to stand. He is not good in the postseason. So if you're trying to win a title, why would you go get James Harden? Seriously, the PJ Tucker ad, fine. Defensively, we see some of the things he does. James Harden doesn't play a lick of defense. His legs aren't as good as they used to be. Sure, he's a good distributor. In the playoffs, he tries to get to the line. It does not work. James Harden is a losing basketball player, and the Los Angeles Clippers got worse when he walked in the door, not better. And that brings me to the other point. Analytics is like this weird love-hate relationship with me. I am not stupid. I understand analytics are a real thing in sports, and they should be used carefully. But when I see ESPN analytics, a machine, and this graphic comes out that says the Clippers now have the best chance to win the Western Conference in the Western Conference. Above the Lakers, above the Nuggets, above the Suns, above the Warriors, real teams with championship pedigree and real superstars. And superstars that show up in the postseason, unlike Paul George, unlike James Harden. What do we see here with the Los Angeles Clippers? They are the number one team to win the Western Conference according to analytics. What are these analytics combining? Can someone please tell me what these analytics are using? What is this math equation? What are the stats that they're using to go ahead and say, yep, this makes sense? Is it just big names? Did the computer just read James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, those three players, statistically playoff disappointments, are supposed to win the title? Those guys are supposed to win a title. Paul George, Pandemic P was his name for a while. He's not a great postseason player. Go watch Game 2 of the 2021 Western Conference Finals. He had a chance to win that game, seal it with free throws. He didn't do it. Missed both of them. Lost the game. The value of DeAndre Ayton, Phoenix Suns. James Harden, consistent playoff disappointment. Russell Westbrook, consistent playoff disappointment. Stat patter, only cares about being Mr. Triple-Double. What am I missing with these analytics? The Clippers are not a top 5 team in the Western Conference if we're going just based off of who would you pick to win the title. I'd take the Lakers over them. I'd take the Nuggets over them. I'd take the Warriors over them. I'd take the Suns over them. I'd probably even take the Memphis Grizzlies over them. Ja Morant will be back by then. Maybe he's fully rested, healthy, and that works out for them. But the Clippers got worse when James Harden walked through the door, and they are not legit title contenders. This is a bad fit, and it's going to blow up in their face just like it did in Houston, just like it did in Brooklyn, just like it did in Philly. It's not a good fit, and it's not going to work out for them. Now, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but I do want to spend 5 to 10 minutes talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. They are consistently being picked by a lot of individuals with huge media names, with huge platforms, continuously saying things like, the Lakers are going to win the championship this year. They're just awesome. I mean, the Lakers, did you see what they added? Yeah, it's not much. The Lakers were swept last year by the Denver Nuggets. They played a Memphis Grizzlies team that didn't have Ja Morant for a lot of the series, who or at least was hobbling during the series, was not the same player that he normally is capable of being. They played the Warriors. They won that series. It was a clear advantage for them. The Warriors did not have players that were big. It was just not great for them. But then you see what the Lakers mostly are. They're a team. They showed up in the Western Conference Finals, and they lost. And they lost bad. They were swept. The Phoenix Suns took the Nuggets to 6 games without Chris Paul, without DeAndre Ayton. The Lakers didn't do any of that. Anthony Davis, Colin Cowherd had an awesome analogy of Anthony Davis. It was exactly what Anthony Davis is. He said the other day, Anthony Davis is like the milkshake machine at McDonald's. 50% of the time it's working and it's awesome. 50% of the time it's not working and it sucks. That's what Anthony Davis is. He's not a winning basketball player. He won 1 bubble title. He's never available. The Lakers, I don't get it. Is everyone just buying into Austin Reeves as this all-star? He's not. Austin Reeves is a good starting point guard. He can handle the ball, shoot it well. He's aggressive as hell, and he's a good defender for the most part, for being a little bit smaller in size. A good, pesky defender that you need on your team. He's a real glue guy for them. But to say that now all of a sudden, after adding Gabe Vincent, who wasn't great for the first 3 games this year, is going to change this team is just beyond me. This Lakers team is not going to win the title. This Lakers team is not making the Western Conference Finals. Unless the bracket somehow breaks their way like it did last year, they're not better than the Nuggets. They're not better than the Suns. I mean, and I'd argue they're not better than the Warriors. CP3 coming off the bench for the Warriors is a big deal. But the Lakers' health? They can never stay healthy. LeBron James is in year 20-something. He's awesome for the oldest player in the league. And LeBron James is probably going to get some MVP votes. It's not him I'm worried about. It's Anthony Davis who I'm worried about. It's not Austin Reeves. You can have all these depth pieces you want. Maybe Gabe Vincent really steps into his own. It's not going to win you the title. And Anthony Davis, he's not going to be a guy that shows up consistently each and every year. He's a Anthony Data Davis. He's street clothes, as famously quoted by Charles Barkley. It's just who he is, man. It's just who Anthony Davis is. He is not a winning basketball player. He's consistently injured. And when he's on the court, 50% of the time, he's just not that effective. I've watched it for years. I don't understand where the Lakers hype is coming from. Lakers fans are going to come in my mentions and say, you don't know what you're talking about. We got Gabe Vincent, Taurean Prince. Really? No one won a title because they got Gabe Vincent and Taurean Pierce. The Miami Heat had Gabe Vincent last year. He was cool. He was good. Sloshed in the finals by the Nuggets. Stole a game. Was not competitive. The Nuggets were better. The Nuggets take out every other team. If we're just talking about making it to the NBA Finals, they would get swept by the Nuggets again. The Denver Nuggets are better. The Phoenix Suns are better. Stop buying into the Lakers hype. LeBron James is cool. He's awesome. He's getting more injured as he gets older. That's expected with older players. Anthony Davis has been getting injured since he came out of the womb. Austin Reeves is exactly what he is, a superstar role player. He's good for the position he fits. He's a pesky player. He's a glue guy. You need guys like that on your team. He's not an all-star. He is what he is. And Anthony Davis has to be the best player on your team. LeBron in year 20-something cannot continuously carry you. It's just not going to happen. And then Anthony Davis as well. He is not going to stay healthy enough to continuously give you what you need. And when he is healthy, he's probably not going to be the same player day in and day out. So with that being said, not only are the Los Angeles Lakers not going to win the title, they're not real contenders for the titles unless there's real injuries, unless they make a huge bonkers trade, or unless somehow, some way the bracket breaks their way. But it's not going to happen. They're worse than you think. They're not better than you think. Now let's talk a little bit about this epic matchup this weekend between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. It is finally here. I've talked about it for literal weeks now. I've told people, listen, the Dallas Cowboys' first real test, of course that wasn't exactly true because then they lost to the Arizona Cardinals. My team, Dak Prescott, didn't show up. But first, before we talk Eagles, Cowboys, I want to talk about this. Dak Prescott was awesome this weekend. I'm willing to give credit where it's due, but I'm also going to absolutely take a victory lap here because I was 100% correct on Dak Prescott. The way you win with Dak Prescott is if everything is going Dak Prescott's way. He's the best front-runner quarterback in sports, aside from Aaron Rodgers. When things are going great with Aaron Rodgers is at the front of it, and when it's going bad, it's going awful, and Aaron Rodgers is nowhere to be found. Does anyone see a real pattern here with Dak Prescott like I consistently do? For some reason, Dallas Cowboys fans will come in mentions every week when Dak Prescott plays good and say, oh, did you see Dak? He was awesome this week. See what he did against the Jets? Look at what he did against the Patriots. He was so good. Look what he did against that Chargers defense. That is statistically the worst defense in the NFL at the time. It's a horrific defense. It's one of the most expensive defenses that Brandon Staley cannot seem to get right. Although he's a defensive coach, it just consistently is awful. And Dak Prescott played well against it. And again, I give him his due. Anyone who thinks Dak Prescott sucks doesn't know football. But what I will say is, Dak Prescott's not a top 10 quarterback. There are absolutely 10 quarterbacks I would take over Dak Prescott. And that leads me to my next point. One of the quarterbacks I would take over Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts. And there's a reason why the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win this division. There's a reason why the Philadelphia Eagles are going to end up with home field advantage the entire time throughout the playoffs. Because I get texts from Dallas Cowboy fans all the time. You see the Philadelphia Eagles? Didn't look good. And I'm like, yeah, they didn't look good, and they still won. Imagine what's going to happen when this winter sport turns their way in Philly, and it's cold, and you have to go to the Link to play them, in which they are the best smash-mouth, win-ugly football team. The Eagles play up to their opponent. The Dallas Cowboys always consistently disappoint in big games. This is what happens. We saw it with the 49ers, and I called it. I said, listen, they're going to play great against the mediocre teams. They're going to beat them down hard, and they're going to beat them down good, and they're going to win. Because the Dallas Cowboys do not suck. They're just not Super Bowl contenders. There's teams every year that do not suck, that are good football teams, that are not Super Bowl contenders. I'm just the only one man enough to say it. I don't care about the backlash. I don't care if Dallas Cowboy fans are going to come in my mentions every year and go, this is our year, we them boys. It's not. Sit down, put the pom-poms down. The Dallas Cowboys are going to go into the Link this week, and they're going to lose. And they're going to get another reality check. Because they're not playing at home, because they're not playing Mac Jones, because they're not playing Zach Wilson, because they're not playing insert bad quarterback here like we saw this week. An injured Matthew Stafford, he gets knocked out of the game. They rough him up. And does anyone see a consistency between Dak Prescott's good games? It's at home normally. They get a defensive score, sometimes two of them. We saw it in the Jets game, we saw it in the Patriots game, and we saw it in the game against the Rams. All that pressure is off of Dak Prescott. He's able to come into his own. He's not playing from behind. And then he's able to deal. Exactly what Dak Prescott is supposed to be. The best front-runner quarterback in sports. When things are going well, things are going awesome. But guess what? When you play good teams, and when you play good teams in the playoffs, you don't tend to show up. 2 postseason wins for Dak Prescott. One against a bad Buccaneers team last year, and then he beat the Seahawks. He played well in that game, and I'll give him his flowers. Willing to admit when I'm wrong, willing to continuously give the praise that he does deserve. He's not a top 10 quarterback. He's going to lose to Philadelphia this week. And then all the Dallas Cowboy fans that have been in my mentions for weeks will come back into all the Dallas Cowboy fans that have been in my mention for weeks will be silent, will be crickets. And then 2 or 3 weeks from now, when they beat up on the Washington Commanders or some subpar football team at home, they'll come tell me how great he is. And then they'll play another good team, and then they'll lose. And I don't mean just a good team, a really good team, like the Eagles are. I don't care. The Eagles haven't had a complete game yet. They're 7-1. They're 7-1. They beat the Miami Dolphins, who was everyone's early preseason pick to win the Super Bowl. That was the sexy pick. They beat them up because they came to the Link, and guess what? When it gets cold, when you have to win ugly, the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team for that. They're going to win this division. The Philadelphia Eagles are the better team. They have the better quarterback. And I don't care how well Dak Prescott plays against the Eagles. I care about now. I care about what I've seen recently. And what I've seen from the Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott is they're not good in high-pressure situations. They often have poor play calling at the end of games. They often have poor clock management. And when it matters the most, Dak Prescott becomes incredibly predictable and will probably throw a game-sealing pick. Or it'll be a San Francisco 49ers thing, and it's a rout. The Philadelphia Eagles are just better. The Dallas Cowboys are not going to win the Super Bowl. They're not a Super Bowl contender. And I don't even care if they win this week. They win this week, good for them. They're not Super Bowl contenders, and they're not going to win. The Philadelphia Eagles are better. They're going to find their identity, and they're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys. And Dallas Cowboy fans will be crickets, because that's what they are. Dallas Cowboy fans, again, like Dak Prescott, are some of the best frontrunners in sports. When it's awesome and it's going well, we'll hear you. We them boys. And they're going to play a real team, or they're going to get to the playoffs, and they'll probably have to go on the road, and they'll lose. Dak Prescott, I've said it for years now, incapable of winning multiple playoff games in the same year. The Philadelphia Eagles will fly, Eagles fly, and the Dallas Cowboys will go back to the drawing board at the end of this week. And it's going to look eerily similar like it did last year for the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to be good. They might make a run to the Super Bowl. The Dallas Cowboys will not be a part of the NFC Championship game, like I've been saying for weeks, years. And when I'm right, you'll still argue with me because it doesn't matter how many times I'm right. You'll still find some sliver of fandom when I'm on your side. I'm just telling you the truth. I don't hate your team. I don't have enough time in my day to hate your team. But the Eagles are going to win this weekend, and they're going to continuously triumph on into the playoffs into a Super Bowl caliber roster. They're going to continue to make moves. They're going to continue to stomp their way into the Super Bowl and have other teams come to them, and they're going to win ugly, and they're going to win easy over the bad teams. Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, on the other hand, they're going to beat up on all the weak teams, and when it's time to step up in the playoffs, or for this instance now, they're going to lose, and it'll be fly, Eagles fly, and it'll be Cowboys fans, let's hide. Because that's how it always is, at least over the past decade and over the past 2 decades plus. And that's just what it is. The Eagles are going to beat the Dallas Cowboys this weekend, and we'll hear crickets from their fan base. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Again, I appreciate it. That is all I have for you today on the Ben Garcia Show. Missed a show last week, guys. There's a lot of things going on in my life right now. I am so sorry. I got sick. I have other issues that I'm dealing with personally. We were moving. It was just a tough overall week. Couldn't make it to you guys. We are back with another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. I'll be back next week to react. I'm not going to hide. Even if the Cowboy fans win, I'm here to take the punches. I'll show up on Cowboy shows. I'm here to give you strong opinions, and you're here to agree with me or call me every name in the book. I don't mind it. I love it. Thank you so much for listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or for free on the iHeartRadio app. And again, thank you for listening to us on YouTube. If you're that person that wants to watch the show, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we will see you guys next week. It's been the Ben Garcia Show.